everyone, it's Sophie, aka the Feminist Killjoy here.
Well, hello there. I'm Modwayne Elleron.
I'm going to do a video today on feminism in general.
I've responded to a few videos about feminism in general. I'm curious where you will take us.
I feel like with my previous video I kind of jumped in at the deep end a little bit with regards to feminist terminology and theory that maybe some of the people watching it didn't quite understand. I feel like some of the responses I got to the video were people coming from a place of not knowing feminism and hearing this term misandry as a buzzword that they've heard before and kind of instantly reacting to that. So I wanted to do a video today just basically on what feminism is.
Well, I like to think I know a little bit about feminism already, what with me having responded to a few videos and having done a little bit of research. But maybe I'm just wrong and maybe you are going to give me a lot of new insights. This would be cool. So let's continue.
So what is feminism?
Are you now asking me?
So you'll probably hear quite a lot of people throwing around the phrase feminism is equality with men. So I'm here to tell you today that's not really what feminism is. That is quite a basic, watered down version of feminism. It's what you'll hear celebrities who are using the word feminism as a buzzword say, and it's not really correct.
Well, yeah, obviously it's not equality with men. I mean, if it were that, women had to give up a lot of rights they've accrued over the years because women have more rights and more protection than men do. So yeah, you don't want to be equal to men. I mean, that's the whole thing, isn't it?
Feminism is really a movement that is about the liberation of women from the oppression of men.
Ooh, you know of women being oppressed in the UK? Because there are laws against that, as far as I know. And there are more laws protecting women than there are men. So if women are still being oppressed by men, and that means men are breaking the law, you shouldn't be talking to us. You should talk to the police. But I guess I know why you're not talking to the police and you are talking to us. I mean, there's a chance that we might be gullible. Then again, so the police at times, isn't it?
So let me just explain that a little bit by asking the question of why would a woman want to be equal to a man?
Which is a very fair question because it would seem that women would lose a lot of rights and protections when they become men, or at least equal to men.
Men are currently in a position in this world where they have the right to objectify and be violent towards and sexualize anyone that they please.
Ooh, really? Do we now? In what country do we have that right? Or in what world, should I ask? Or how many meds did you take to get to that world? Because that's really not the reality now, is it? I mean, it's not men having the rights.
But they're also in a position where they're stereotyped to be aggressive and emotionless and tough. So I don't want to be equal to that. And as a white woman, being equal to men would be being equivalent to a white male. And that still leaves several layers of inequality there with regards to race, sexuality, class, and things like that.
Yeah, stereotypes of men. I wonder where they come from. Um, but but even if you were equal to men, you would not be equal to men. Um, so if one is equal to two, which would make one two, it's still not equal to two. But if one is equal to two, it's two. Yeah, but it's not equal to two. But if it's equal, then it's equal. Yeah, but it's not equal. I'm sorry. Maybe you should talk to your doctor because I'm thinking the medication isn't working.
The word inequality is in itself contradictory. Equality is something that's basically impossible until all oppressed groups are liberated from their oppressors.
Um, no, and um, no. Inequality is not inherently contradictory, and equality has nothing to do with it can only be addressed when no one is no longer oppressed. No, equality is about how no one should be oppressed to begin with. I'm sorry. do I need to teach you English? Because I'm not English, and I know these things.
So what is feminism? Feminism is a movement for the liberation of women, all women, from the oppression of men.
Ooh, I should really thank you for that one, because I've always said that feminism is a segregatory movement and therefore a hate movement. And basically what you're saying now is that it is a segregatory movement and therefore a hate movement. Thank you very much.
Now, as I mentioned, there are several different forms of oppression that are discussed within feminism. So what you have to take into consideration is race, class, sexuality, things like disability. So discussing race in feminism is what's known as intersectionality, and that's probably another word that you will have heard being used quite a lot. Quite a lot of the people who use the word intersectionality are actually using it kind of incorrectly. It was coined by a black woman, and it's supposed to describe quite exclusively the intersectionality of white feminism and black feminism and the feminism of women of colour. So intersectionality is the understanding that women of colour face a kind of unique kind of discrimination and oppression that white women do not. So as well as being women, they also face race-based oppression.
Now, I might be understanding this wrong, but are you now not white-splaining? I mean, being white and explaining an issue that someone else, someone of color, is bringing up. I mean, isn't that one of the bad things to do? I mean, you're speaking for someone who could speak better than you on this case because, well, you're white-splaining, innit? It's just like men trying to explain some of the issue women face, and that's then mansplaining. So then this must be yes, no?
As feminists in this day and age, it's our job to listen to and understand these problems, but never to talk over women of colour and black women when they're discussing these things.
Yeah, as it was so eloquently said by Anita Sarkeesian, you need to listen and believe. Stop thinking for yourself. Don't argue. Listen and believe.
It's our job to understand how to be an ally, but not to get in the way or talk over or tread on anyone's toes, because as a white woman, it's not my subject of expertise. I'm not going to talk over a black woman who's talking about her personal experiences and interject with, oh, well, I read this in an article or something, because I don't know anything about it and it's not my place.
Yeah, you don't know anything about it and it's not your place. You could educate yourself. Honestly, this is the cheapest cop-out I have ever seen. Oh, well, yeah, no, I'm not black, so I don't know about your problems, so you must tell me. And if then I have two black people who contradict each other, well, that can't happen, obviously. I mean, they're both black and they both know what's going on, and there's no way I can educate myself.
So women of colour is actually a westernized phrase because it was born out of countries where being Asian or Indian or black is to be in the minority. When discussing these things, you would never use the term woman of colour for someone who's living in their cultural and ethnic home. So I'd never call a Chinese woman living in China a woman of colour. But it is really vital to discuss the forms of discrimination and oppression that take place around the world. So as a white woman living in England, I face certain forms of discrimination, but they would not be the same as someone, say, living in rural India. So for example, in England, you have got the class systems. In India, you would have the caste systems.
Yeah, because there's absolutely no difference between a class and caste system. Oh, actually there is, but the explanation of that would be a whole story in itself. So let's pretend that there isn't one, shall we? Good idea. And I don't want to be rude, but did you just say that the term women of color is basically a Western term because we use it here because there are Caucasians and there are not Caucasians and those who are not Caucasian are of color? Then being of color is just a description. It's not a term or anything. And basically everyone that's not Caucasian is of color. And you could argue that people who are Caucasian are of color as well. I mean, there used to be this old Dutch poster saying, okay, when I'm warm, I'm black. When you're warm, you're red. When I'm cold, I'm black. When you're cold, you're blue. When I'm angry, you're red. When I'm angry, I'm black. etc., etc., etc. And then the bottom line it said, and then you call me a person of color. I love that one. It was brilliant. It's too bad it's in Dutch, otherwise I would have looked it up. Basically, what you're saying is, yeah, it's okay to use a term that describes someone, and we give it a negative connotation because, well,
In England, you will have race-based oppression. In India, you actually have oppression based on skin color. So darker-skinned women are seen as kind of less than. And you also have oppression based on religion.
are you now saying that we have a terrible system because we are discriminating people on race? Where, well, for example, in India, they will discriminate you on color or religion, but that's not as bad. I don't, I'm, you lost me. So either you're saying we're doing a terrible thing and they're doing it right, or you're saying we're doing a terrible thing and other people are doing a terrible thing too, but let's not talk about them. Which one? Because it's unclear for me now. I'm sorry.
And they encounter these oppressions in different ways. So feminism to me is liberating all women from the oppression of men.
So again, segregation. Well, thank you.
And while that may start at home for someone like me, with grassroots and DIY forms of rebellion against these systems, it is really important to take into account what's happening around the rest of the world.
Yeah, because actual discrimination or oppression happening in other parts of the world are by no means as interesting as your perceived oppression by men towards women. I mean, genital mutilation is still a thing in several countries, yet none of them are Western countries. Which isn't true actually, because male genital mutilation is still perceived as doable in, well, a large part of the Western world actually. And I'm not even talking about America where it happens to every boy, but I know for a fact that it happens in other countries in the Western world when Jewish parents want to circumcise their boy and no one is blinking an eye. But it's illegal to happen to women in the Western world. So, I mean, double standard much?
I still need to educate myself on these subjects and help to bring awareness and campaign against them when I can.
Yeah, you really do. But I won't hold my breath for you campaigning against them because the perceived victims are not the victims that are real. It's not women who are oppressed by the system. On average, men are drawing the short stick. But that's not your stick, is it?
So good examples of this would include female genital mutilation,
Which is illegal in the Western world.
Women and girls being sold into sex slavery,
Which is illegal in the Western world.
Female children being sold as child brides,
Which is illegal in the Western world.
And girl children being killed for being born female.
Which is illegal in the Western world as well. But that is a terrible thing and it shouldn't happen. And this is one of the reasons why China is now stepping down from their one-child policy, because that's mostly something that happened in China as far as I'm aware. But it happens and it's a terrible thing. The thing is though, you mentioned things that are illegal in the Western world. There is no campaign to be had. I mean, if these are the rights you are fighting for, you've started a fight well after the fact. Well done for you. And some of these things are also true for boys. I mean, there are countries, for example, Afghanistan and in lesser extent Pakistan, where boys are being used as sex slaves. Um, Again, this is not something very common in the Western world, though at the moment it seems to be on a rise, what with the people from North Africa coming here. But I don't hear you complaining about that. I don't hear you speaking out against that. So how come you speak out to perceived problems which only happen in other countries when they're about women, but not when they're about men?
And what you do need to remember as well is with Western countries being as diverse as they are nowadays, with different cultures and religions and everything within them, these things do actually happen at home as well.
Yeah, I kind of just mentioned that. But, and don't get me wrong, it's terrible when it happens to women, girls. I fail to see how it's a gender issue though, because it's terrible when it happens to boys too. So, yeah, criminals do criminal acts. It's terrible, we need to fight that. But what you're saying is, oh no, men do terrible acts. And don't bother about criminals. Men, they're the problem. Seriously.
So, according to the NSPCC, up to 23,000 girls under the age of 15 could be at risk of female genital mutilation within England and Wales.
Now, it is very difficult to find circumcision numbers in the UK, but I will not start about how someone could be perceived as a possible victim, because these are buzzwords and they mean nothing. And when I mean nothing, I really do mean nothing. However, even in the UK, men are being circumcised. And the precise numbers, they're not really that clear. I mean, the NHS doesn't really offer non-therapeutic circumcisions, but it's not really denied by law to happen to men, so we know it happens to men. Now, if there is a medical reason to do so, for example, you're born with a defect on your penis as a boy, yeah, I'm sorry, mate, but it's gonna happen because it needs to happen. But it happens for religious reason, for cultural reasons. And as I said, no one seems to bat an eye when it happens to a man. So please, either talk about circumcision as if it were a real issue, and then say this is an issue for men and women, or stop talking how it could be perceived an issue for women when it's illegal, but totally forget about the fact that it's legal for men.
So, not every woman is equal, not every woman faces the same forms of oppression. So, equality with men is kind of an impossible goal. So, what we kind of aim to do is liberate women from these oppressions. We all have different problems, and a good feminist discussion is one that takes all of these into consideration without talking over the people who are living through these problems.
So, taking the example of circumcision, that this is a genuine problem and it's still legal to happen to boys, is something feminists won't talk over or interrupt. And does that now mean I can consider you an ally in fighting male circumcision? Because I could live with that. Oh, no, stupid me. No, wait, no, because they're not women.
So, what else does feminism mean? Feminism means support above all else.
Yeah, unless, of course, you're disagreeing with feminism or you're a man. Because those two options means feminism will not support you. Yeah.
So forget about girl hate and competition and jealousy, because these things are just symptoms of the patriarchy. They're brought on by our representation within the media, they're brought on by our expectations, and they're brought on by what is, quite frankly, propaganda against women.
Yeah, because slut shaming is something done mostly by men towards women, right? And it's men who judge women compared to other women. It's not women doing that, obviously. No, it's men doing that. And yeah, it's all because men force you to do that. Hypocrisy much. I'm sorry. The double talk in you is pretty strong.
Feminism means pushing and encouraging women to get to where they want to be without stepping on the toes of other women to get there.
Yeah, unless of course those women disagree with feminism, because, well, if they disagree with feminism, fuck them. And again, only women, not men. I mean, stepping on the toes of men? Who cares about those bastards anyway?
Feminism means criticising our representation within the media, whether that's within films, books, movies, music, television, even art. Feminism is striving to see on the screen every form of women represented equally.
Well, yeah, I mean, feminist approved female actors. I mean, we're not to say actresses anymore because patriarchy. So yeah, female actors. Anyway, as long as feminism approves with them, because if feminism doesn't approve with them, well, fuck them. I mean, they're not feminist. This, of course, gave rise to a few problems. One of the funnier ones I thought was one of the female actresses I particularly enjoy in one of the series I keep watching. She spoke out about how she wasn't a feminist, or rather, she didn't really speak out against it. It's just something she mentioned. And she got some flack over it, so she turned around and said, no, I am a feminist. I am a feminist. Oh, yeah, no, feminism is great. Just to get you off her back. Which is kind of double talk on her part, I won't deny that. But it also shows what feminism does in the media. And an all-women cast Ghostbusters. Now, I mean, if there were more women in Ghostbusters leading roles, would I have a problem with that? No, of course not. But an all-women cast, because equality? I don't see it. And there have been strong females in movies and series. They have really been there. Why are we denying that? Well, I'm not, but why are you denying that? But some of the stronger female characters we see now are absolutely everything that feminism despises, and therefore they're not good enough. I'm sorry, this is not about creating equality for women. This is about destroying all viewpoints men have. This is, for example, the whole Gamergate story, and I know this is not about Gamergate, but this happened because a woman developer had an affair with a male journalist, and they got called out. And somehow this got turned into misogyny. No, it's people abusing their situation. And then people like you say it's okay if we call it misogyny. Damn, the double talk is strong.
So a world where Latina women are not shown simply as being over-sexualized, or where disabled women are not seen as other or needing to be fixed.
Yeah, damn those Latina women who want to look sexually attractive, because they are there, but no, they're wrong, and they're doing it because of patriarchy. And people with a handicap don't need to get fixed, but it would be nice if there is a way that we can get around our disabilities. So, for example, if you can't walk, you might get a wheelchair, which isn't perfect, but at least it keeps you mobile. But we're not to mention that, right?
Or where black women are actually shown to be real people as opposed to an angry stereotype.
Yeah, because all those movies with Will Smith in them, he's just an angry stereotype, isn't he? No, yeah.
Feminism means putting an end to violence against women, whether that is domestic violence in a house in England, or systematic violence against girl children in India, or cultural violence against women in the form of FGM.
But only against women. Don't worry about men.
So my ultimate end goal for feminism would be an end to gender and sex-based violence and discrimination and oppression, and as well as that, an end to consumerist society, or at least the end to using women as objects to sell items within consumerist societies.
But yeah, gender-based violence. But then again, only when female are the victim of this gender-based violence, even though men Well, there are only two genders, so you're not talking about gender-based violence then. I mean, you are saying half of the gender-based violence. Well, maybe it's a little bit less than half, maybe it's a little bit more than half, but it's not all gender-based violence, because if it were to be all gender-based violence, it would also be gender-based violence against men. But then again, if it were to be gender-based violence against men, you would have to be against yourself, because what you're doing is you're propagating basically violence against men. Well done.
And I don't know how long it will take to get there. We probably won't get anywhere near there within my lifetime. But if all I can do is use the mediums that are available to me, such as the internet and videos and a magazine, to put out these messages and ensure that people hear about the inequalities that are happening around the world and understand these oppressions and this violence against women, then hopefully that will make a difference somewhere down the line, even if I don't get to see it.
Yeah, I'm afraid you won't get to see it, but not for the reason you think. The main reason you won't get to see it is because you, and unfortunately a lot of your sisters, are basically lying. You talk about domestic violence as if it's a female problem. And yes, females do have been beaten and they are part of the problem, but so have men. And I mean, there have been studies that actually shown that most domestic violence situations at home are often instigated by the woman. Now, unfortunately for biology, the women biology is a lot weaker than that of a man. The upper body strength of a man is way stronger than the upper body strength of a woman, even if she is a trained woman. So this means that women can start a fight and talk a fight, but men can actually finish it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think men should, but I don't think women go scot-free on this either. And this is not about victim blaming, because some women truly are victim. But a lot of women are not victim. They just overplayed their hand. And somehow we don't recognize that. We keep claiming it's a male problem. Even though, let's say, 2/3 of domestic violence victims are female, that would automatically mean that 1/3 is male, at least.
So I also just wanted to make a quick point about my previous video. I did say in that video at one point about equal pay for equal jobs. Now, quite a lot of people picked up on that, even though I did write an explanation in the description, which, I mean, you'd have to pass the description in order to make a comment, so I don't really know how people missed that, unless they just couldn't be bothered. But basically, what my explanation said was, I know I skimmed over it in the video. So what I said in the video was, women don't get equal pay. They get equal pay for equal jobs, but when you don't do the same job, you don't get the equal pay.
Yeah, you kind of lost me there again. So, equal pay for equal jobs. Well, women do get equal pay for equal jobs. This is what you're saying, which is actually not true, because young women in the UK earn more than their counterparts on the same job. But never mind that. Peanuts. But yeah, equal pay for equal jobs, which happens, but it doesn't happen because you want equal pay. Oh, wait a second. Equal pay for equal jobs means equal pay for equal jobs. If you want equal pay, then you're saying everyone should just have the same money. Everyone should have the same salary. Everyone should have the same income. Fuck you what you're doing. Everyone should be paid the same. Now, personally, it's something I can stand behind. Don't get me wrong. I am rather utopian in my mindset. So, yeah, of course, everyone the same pay. Unfortunately, this is not how society works. Bank directors will never earn as little as the average person. And sanitation workers get paid less than bank tellers on average. And I mean, there's a whole segment of people in between. But yeah, me as a person who works in psychiatry, I will not get paid as much as a psychiater. Let's not just mention then that they, studied maybe 3 times as long as I did. That's not important. What's important is all should have equal pay. Or rather, in your situation, all women should have equal pay. Fuck about the men again. Sorry, my bad. I keep thinking about equality. You keep thinking about women. But yeah, no, yeah, all women should have the same pay, and it should be equal. Fuck it to what? We'll figure it out when we get there. But it's definitely not equal job, equal pay, because that already exists.
What I meant by that was that women don't get the opportunities to do this equal job. So there are many reasons why women wouldn't have the same opportunity. You can look at women in the STEM fields, for example. I mean, women are kind of discouraged from youth to enter into these fields, so science and technology and things like that. I read a survey the other day that was something like how many girls are explained at a museum when they ask a question of how something works, how many girls are told how it works and how many boys. And the amount of boys was huge, and the amount of girls was on the graph is like that compared to like that.
Oh my god. You do keep stepping in it, don't you? You do realize that in most STEM branches, they're actually encouraging women. So they are being encouraged to solicitate, they're encouraged to do studies. They actually get more money for the same stuff men do. And when they used to say, well, if a man and a woman apply and they're equally good, well, we'll go for the woman. Now they basically say if a man and a woman apply, the woman need not be as good and she will get the job. So what equality do you want? The equality to be an utter failure and have men who are better sit at home because they're not allowed to do it. This is one of the reasons why universities see less and less men signing up. This is one of the reasons why men more and more sign out of society. They are, they're going to be happy in a dead end job and they're just going to do it for themselves and not going to get married. This is what created the MGTOW movement. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm definitely not against it. And you're the reason it exists. And you still dare talk about equality. The stupidity is mind-boggling.
So that's what I mean by that. I don't mean that women don't get paid the same amount as men for not doing the same thing. Obviously, like, that's so obvious. Yeah, I skimmed over it, but I was planning on kind of doing a different video on that subject anyway. What I meant was women don't get paid equal because women don't have the equal opportunities to get those jobs in the first place.
Yeah, you just keep digging yourself that hole, my dear. You keep digging yourself that hole. Women don't have the equal opportunities, where women are giving grants to do studies and men not. Where women are picked over men when they're applying in STEM, well, not even in STEM. But yeah, no, women don't get those options. Men do. Oh yeah, that's why more and more men are signing out. I said this a second ago. I'll not repeat my rant. But oh my god, reality. Ever heard of it? You should look it up.
So thank you for watching. I'm the Feminist Killjoy. I'm here to teach you about feminism. Please look out for my next video, and if you have any questions, just pop them below or send me a tweet or something like that. I'm also going to be starting kind of another little series on this channel with my partner, which is going to be Is, insert film name here, sexist? Where we will be dissecting and discussing popular films and whether or not they are sexist. So if you have any recommendations for films for that, then please let me know. And thank you for watching. Links are all below. Have a nice day. Free from oppression.
Well, consider this little movie my reply to your little movie. And of course, I'll post it on my channel, but I will put a link in the "you're down below" part. And maybe I should apologize. Maybe it was not nice of me to make jokes about how I think medications could help your worldview. And maybe I shouldn't say stuff like "get back to reality." Well, I didn't say that literally, but I implied it clearly. And maybe I shouldn't do that. Not because I disagree with what I said, but maybe it's not nice to take the mick. That being said, though, honestly, I'm flabbergasted about the stupidity that you spout. I mean, okay, you agree that you never said that women don't earn equal as men, blah blah blah. They should get more chances. And I'm only working up on the last bit, but if I go back into the movie as well, um, female genital mutilation bad, male genital mutilation who cares? Female sex slaves bad, male sex slaves who cares? And I'm not saying it happens as much as it happens to women, but it happens. Stop blaming men. Criminals are criminals, whether they are men or women. And I'm absolutely beyond my calm on this one. How can you not see this? You're alienating half of the world because your movement doesn't care about half of the world. A segregation movement at heart is a hate movement. And you're telling us that we need to be part of your hate movement? Ah. Anyway, as she said, I will say if you have questions, if you have remarks, drop them down below and I will respond to them. And I'm thinking we might see feminist killjoy pop up again one day in my channel because I don't know, it's my bad, but I guess that I feel the need to respond to this sort of stupidity. Maybe I shouldn't, but I am. So there you have it. Anyway, thanks for listening to my little reply. Hope you liked it. Have a good day.